Good afternoon and welcome. Thank you for coming to this debate. This House supports the legalization of marijuana. It is time to end the criminalization of recreational marijuana use in the United States of America. Marijuana is deeply rooted in the history of many cultures and peoples around the world, including but not limited to the Indian Hindus, Assyrians, Greeks, and Romans, just to name a few. Texts from all of these cultures date back as far as 2800 BC and support the idea of cannabis's healing properties and its ability to treat different health problems, including depression, amenorrhea, inflammation, and lack of appetite. Marijuana, or cannabis, has been illegal at a federal level in the United States since 1937 with the passing of the Marijuana Tax Act. This act restricted possession of the drug to individuals who paid an excise tax on the plant for specific authorized industrial and medical uses. The stigma and the harsh laws around the possession of marijuana also weren't helped in any way during the 60s when President Nixon announced the War on Drugs. The War on Drugs was a movement that aimed to eradicate the drug epidemic in America. Some terms that are going to be important for us to be familiar with going forward include marijuana, cannabis, and decriminalization. Marijuana refers to cannabis normally smoked or consumed as a psychoactive drug. Psychoactive refers to mind-altering. Cannabis itself is a tall plant with a stiff, upright stem, divided serrated leaves, and glandular hairs. The flowers of the plant, also referred to as bud, are where the highest concentration of the plant's chemicals lie, including the major psychoactive component of the plant known as THC. The word decriminalize means to stop treating something as illegal or as a criminal offense. From a legal standpoint, to decriminalize something means to remove the criminal sanctions against a certain activity. Along the same thought process, to criminalize something is to treat it as illegal and to make it a criminal offense. This House would argue that one of the biggest harms that comes from the criminalization of marijuana is that it ruins lives by unjustly and disproportionately exposing users to the criminal justice system. According to a study published by ACLU in 2010, around 52% of all drug-related arrests in the country were for marijuana. At that, most of them were for possession of the drug in small amounts. It wasn't like most of the arrests were kingpin traffickers. The ACLU also published a study that found that between 2001 and 2010, not only were 7 million people arrested on marijuana charges, but Black people were also 4 times more likely to be arrested for marijuana, despite the fact that the plant was being used equally, if not more, by white people. Not only have these arrests resulted in people being unjustly incarcerated for long periods of time, but the lucky ones who don't face any jail time are so often stripped of a lot of necessary resources caused by the presence of a criminal charge on their record. There's no reason that people who have not committed violent crimes and who do not pose a threat to society should be facing the same or even sometimes longer sentences than those who do. A felony charge for possession of marijuana can land you up to 3 years in prison, which, if you didn't know, is the same amount of time that a rapist can get. The presence of a criminal charge on your record can also make it very difficult to get a job, secure housing, and even receive government benefits if needed. There's no reason that something like possessing marijuana should trap you in poverty and economic insecurity for the rest of your life. Going off of that, the U.S. also wastes too much money policing and incarcerating people for marijuana charges, money that could otherwise be used to pour into our communities. The ACLU has also stated that the U.S. wastes around $3.6 billion a year enforcing marijuana laws. Spending this much money on enforcing marijuana laws takes away from other opportunities to pour into our communities. Even more, all of this money spent doesn't decrease the use or availability of marijuana in the United States. This House's plan proposes to legalize marijuana on a federal level. This plan would include passing a comprehensive descheduling bill in Congress that would complete 3 essential tasks. First, it would help to repair the damage caused by the criminalization of marijuana by means of ceasing the policing, prosecution, and incarceration of marijuana-related drug charges. Second, it would also help to establish regulations on marijuana and the market created by its legalization. And third, it would help to reinvest into communities that have also been most affected by the criminalization of marijuana. With that, this House also proposes to encourage the expungement and/or resentencing for those convicted of charges relating to marijuana. The positive results of this plan would range from freeing up budget for states to improving the economy all over the country. Money that was once used to enforce marijuana laws would now be able to be used elsewhere to improve our communities. The money and space once spent on prosecuting and incarcerating people for marijuana would instead be available to use on actual violent criminals that need to be separated from society. This would mean that jail cells that are currently being used to hold people who were found in possession of small amounts of marijuana could instead be used to house real criminals. Going even further, the legalization of marijuana would open up a whole new market in our country, providing millions with jobs and financial security. This has already been seen in states that have gone through with legalizing marijuana. According to Cato.org, in 2015 alone, Colorado generated a total of $135 million in recreational marijuana revenue. In order for that much revenue to be generated, that means that a lot of marijuana was being bought and sold at a commercial level, which inevitably means that more jobs were created. With the legalization of marijuana, we would also be able to work towards removing the stigma around marijuana, therefore resulting in us being able to dive deeper into its many uses and therapeutic healing properties. For all of these reasons, this House supports the resolution to legalize marijuana.